China refuting Washington's claims that it violated a trade agreement negotiated last month in Geneva. Instead, is now accusing the U.S. of breaching terms of the deal itself. Joining us right now is Deputy Treasury Secretary Michael Faulkender. Good morning to you. Help us understand exactly the dynamic here. What did China breach so we understand it? And maybe you can also speak to what China is suggesting we did.
Sure. So great to be with you. As part of the negotiations that took place in Geneva last month, the Secretary and Ambassador Greer negotiated that, along with bringing down the tariff rates, that the Chinese would take steps in order to ensure that exports of critical minerals continued. And instead, what we are seeing is that they are slow walking the exporting of the critical minerals, of magnets in particular, that are supposed to be unlocked by that agreement. And so, unfortunately, we are getting back to exactly the non-tariff barriers that we have been working with China on for years. If you go back to the beginning of the first Trump administration, we were negotiating with China primarily over the controls that they put on their economy, the non-tariff barriers where they monopolize a certain industry and then use that as leverage in their international engagements. And we are seeing that again with magnets. They said that they would unlock them. And if anything, they are slow walking the approval of these export controls that they have placed on them. Now, they are saying that we somehow violated the terms because of semiconductor exports, but we have long had issues with exporting semiconductors that would go into artificial intelligence. That has never been part of that was not part of the trade negotiations in Geneva. But what was part of it was an agreement on their part that they are slow walking to unlock the exports of critical minerals, magnets in particular.
Michael, let me ask you this just from a timing perspective. So Liberation Day, technically, I believe, was April 2nd. The pause was announced, if I have this right, on April 9th, with this idea that there'd be this 90-day period of time. And at the end of the 90 days, we would have deals with every country in the world over tariffs. By my math, we're getting close to the 90 days. We still got a little bit of time. What do you think the chances are that we're going to see meaningful progress between now and effectively, I don't know if we're looking at July 9th. Is that the final day?
Yeah, so we continue to make good progress. There are negotiations going on with the top 18 countries all the time. As you know, we already have a trade deal with the UK. We continue to make progress with a number of other countries. The president recently extended an extension for the EU because, as we discussed, I think when I was on last time, the EU is a little bit more complicated because while the tariffs are done at the EU level, the non-tariff trade barriers are largely done at the country level. So those are a little bit more complicated to negotiate. But as long as we continue to make progress, I think you're going to see a lot more deals that are announced prior to that July 9th timeframe.
If the deals are not announced, then could you imagine an extension, or is the point to put a hard deadline on it and force the issue?
What we're looking to do is to conclude as many of these discussions as we can. We want to see that we reach at least terms of an agreement prior to the expiration of that pause. As long as they make progress and demonstrate goodwill, we will continue to make progress towards announcing those deals. I don't want to get in front of the president. We would like to see those negotiations conclude within that 90-day horizon, but these are sometimes complicated, and we look to make announcements and bring some resolution both to the American people and to markets as quickly as we can.
Anything you got us coming for in the next week, you think?
We are at the finish line we are close to the finish line on a couple. Again, I'm always reticent to announce anything before it's final, but we continue to make very good progress in a couple of countries that should be imminent.